This series is written chronologically. If you are new to the series, you must start at Season 1, Episode 1. Thank you. The Blood-Drawn Chronicles, Season 6, Symphony of the Osprey, was written by Michael Bradley and produced by Digifox Studios. This season was brought to you in part thanks to the generous contributions of our Patreon, William Wibbins. Thank you, William, for your generous donation. If you'd like to contribute towards our next season, titled Season 7, Whiffs of Hollow Whispers, please visit www.patreon.com/TBDC and take advantage of the awesome perks we have available. We want to take this time to thank Lord Saunders from www.lordsaunders.com for the wonderful audio mastering of the episode you're about to enjoy. As always, thank you for listening, and now our story begins. Hours passed since the conciliation between my Lord Osprey and I. Shortly after our chat, the Earl excused himself to tend to private matters and granted me further permission to continue my tour about his house. He considered that instead of continual, intensive staring at my companion, a proper stroll was what I needed in order to suitably gather my thoughts. With proper admission assumed, I agreed and decided to further explore the castle. On a primary note, I am not one to give interior design options so garishly, but an excess amount of a singular color tone became too nauseating to avoid noting upon further expedition. Salmon, in this case, became the daunting color that coated every wall of every room of this mansion, along with rosewood for the drapery and carpets and carmine for the ceilings. Pink, and every tone within its family, were the only colors displayed around the house, except for the linings and baseboards of which were alabaster. The unsightly color tones were not the only thing I took to clearly notice while roaming about. It seems as well that in every hallway, and in every room just about, hung a portrait of a woman. Depending on what hall you stood, she was either portrayed young, vigorous and blonde of hair, or elderly, fragile, and white-haired. One could almost go as far as to think these two were separate women, but a single gaze into her eyes revealed the identity of both to be the same woman. Who was she that she has earned a portrait upon every wall? I ask, while, once more, returning to my own portrait. There she was, still. Everything about her the same, only now, under the light of the night sky. How can I reach you, woman? I know nearly nothing of you, and yet you have seen me for all that I am. You've gazed upon me at my worst. You've witnessed for yourself the beast of legend, and I know that it has stricken you harshly. In truth, I'd tell you if I could the pain it's placed upon me, but it seems the gods seem fit we never mutter words between us. Your hatred of me is crystal clear, yet you yourself shroud me, woman, for I find I think of you more often than I do Theophilus. The mystery surrounding you has near to overcome my desire of finding my adversary. I wish, such as you, to part ourselves from one another before I am overtaken by you. Time is against me, for I find that the effects of your presence do shift the demeanor in which I wish to present myself, so much so that those I allow into my company can faintly see and misinterpret this as love. Passion is not what I feel for you, but if it must be so for us to talk, may the gods aid me, for I haven't kept passion for anything since ages ago. In a time well forgotten. I continue to stare at her in silence, when suddenly he enters the room.
Ah, I see someone grew tired of his room. Excellent, things were beginning to get rather boring here.
Woodrow.
Myrick?
I see you're up and about.
Yes, well, it is nighttime, and last time I checked... let me see here. Yeah, still a vampire. Nothing has changed.
Who can walk in the sun?
Yes, but the world doesn't need to know that.
It doesn't stop your friend.
You mean... Oh no, I specifically told him not to do that. Why doesn't he ever listen? Oh, don't you me. You and him are a lot more alike than you'd think.
Is that so?
Yes, I tell him not to walk around in broad daylight, and I tell you not to leave Lord Metamaru's. And yet, he's moping around during the day instead of sleeping in his coffin. And you don't even get me started on how disappointed I am with you.
Disappointed?
See, there you go again. I tell you not to do something, and you do it anyway. Well, now you'll have to hear it. Now, where do I begin to even tell you the mess I've been dealing with at your expense? Perhaps I should start with the fact that I've had to clear out my entire laboratory. Thanks to you, I've had to hide the fact that I double dip.
Woodrow.
Which I may add has cut my income by half.
Woodrow.
And before you go saying anything toward your defense, I should let you know that...
I've missed your company.
My God, what did they do to you in Elkabar? That I still plan on charging you an annual compensation for my losses.
What?
You cut me off mid-sentence. You know how much I despise that.
You're insane.
For despising the being cut off or the compensation? 'Cause Lord knows you're rich enough to afford it.
I am. And I'll pay.
Huh?
What is it?
Well, if we're being truthful, I expected more of a fight from you.
I'm tired of fighting.
All right, who are you, and what have you done with Myrick?
Can't a man simply tire of doing the same thing repeatedly, expecting different results?
So what now?
I don't know. Recently, everything I do, or ponder doing, seems worthless. Why do you snicker so?
Oh, because it's story time again, Hellborn Prince. No, you will actually enjoy this one, I promise.
I suppose, then.
Great, this one is not a fictional fable, it's actual Greek myth.
Greek myth?
It's... never mind. Just look at it as a fable. This is the story of the Golden Goblet. Now then, once upon a time, long, long ago, in the city of Palos, there lived a prince named Protus, who was skilled and gifted beyond measure at anything he put his hand to. So skilled was he instantly at anything that would take years to master, that very often he wagered against his own odds. This not only gave birth to what we know today as gambling, but it also made him rich beyond imagining, since he never lost a bet. As the years went by, Protus began to notice something. He was getting a little slower, his aim was a little less accurate, and his strength and stamina a little less sustaining. He was succumbing to time, as all things in nature do. Eager to relive his glory days and having well spent most of his fortune, the aging prince would stop at nothing to regain his grandeur. So deep was his desire that it caught the attention of Artemis, the goddess of hunting, virginity, archery, the moon, yada, yada, yada. Anyhow, Artemis was so intrigued by his desire that she decided to put it to the test. Disguising herself as a snake, she hid herself atop a cypress tree the prince often used as target practice, waiting for the day he would once again shoot an arrow through its bark. When that day finally came, she slithered her way down to the prince's arms and made her offer. "How many arrows remain in your quiver?" she asked. "5," the prince answered. "Then 5 is the number of tasks you must complete in order to drink from the Golden Goblet," she replied. The prince had heard of the Golden Goblet and its power to restore you to your prime forever. Thus, the prince agreed, and over time he went about completing each task. No matter how impossible, the first task he completed without anything in his way. Years later, he was given a difficult decision. his wife was dying, and he had the choice to either stay with her or complete the second task. "I'll marry again," he said, as he rode off to complete the second task. By the time the third task revealed itself, his city was on the brink of war. Still, he went off to complete the third task, saying to his generals, "I wish you all victory, now off I go." By the time the fourth task revealed itself, his country had submitted to its rivals, and famine swept the land. Still, he went off saying to his council, "I wish you all solution to the harvest problem, now off I go." Lastly, when the final task revealed itself, his only heir laid sickly. Still, he went off saying to his physicians, "I wish him well, now off I go." Upon completing all 5 nearly impossible tasks, Artemis awaited for him by the same cypress tree all those years ago, with the golden goblet in her hands. When the prince arrived, she only had one thing to say. "Was it worth it?" she asked. To which the prince replied, "First let me drink, and then I'll tell you." The end. Did we get the moral of the story, Myrick?
Yes.
You'll never know if what you're doing is worth it until you drink from that goblet. Your journey is to find Theophilus, and everything that you do or sacrifice, that is your 5 tasks. You'll never know if it was or wasn't worth it until you reach Theophilus and end it. Only then, if you still feel the same as you do now, will it be worthless.
I needed to hear that. Thank you.
You are very welcome, my friend. Well then, again I say, so what now?
Josephine.
What of her?
She's reached Mother.
And you would know that how?
I linked with her in order to assure her safe escape. All throughout her journey since, I've known her location. In case anyone should try and harm her, I'd come to her aid. Fortunately for me, she made her way to Mother without the need of my assistance. Still,
You know the way to Venti Isla?
That surprises you?
Yes, only the 7 know its location. Everyone else simply knows what it's called. Venti Isla. It's Spanish for 20 island.
Is that a fact?
Yes, I'm surprised you didn't know. What with all your fancy ring and all.
It doesn't translate names or titles.
Huh. Now how does that work?
Some other time, perhaps. What else can you tell me about this island?
Only that it's rumored to never be located in the same place twice.
Interesting. How do you figure that is?
I don't know, but I'm dying to find out.
As am I, my friend. As am I.
But...
There remains one great obstacle in the way of our journey.
I see. And would this obstacle happen to be sitting outside on a log, staring out into the open fields? Oh, that is quite the obstacle, my friend. Quite the obstacle indeed.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like, share, comment, and, most importantly, subscribe. Don't feel like waiting until next week for the next Blood Drawn episodes to release? No problem. You can get access to all the episodes of this season now for just a $5 pledge on Patreon.